You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Oh yeah, baby, that's lovely.
Good morning, it's April the 1st, and welcome to Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News. We're live here from the Legacy420.com news desk. Good morning, Green Irene. How you doing?
Good morning. And you know what? I'm not even going to play any April Fool's jokes on you because you know what? Our government is doing enough.
That's right, it's April Fool's Day today, but it's no joke. We are live.
That's right. Live and airing broadcasting. Very
That's
cool.
That's right. And today in the news, we got some stories about some cannabis legalized, some countries legalizing cannabis as well as a chance for somebody to maybe win free cannabis.
I know.
Not with us, though. Not with us, but one of the articles.
Yeah. And I think that's really kind of cool. Now, I'm not sure how they're legally getting away with that. So it's going to be interesting to read that article, to find out exactly how they're doing that, how they're giving that weed away.
Yeah, exactly. And Ontario's talking about, one of the doctors has brought up decriminalization of some drugs. So we'll get into those stories as we go along with the broadcast. So.
Yes, tune in and share your comments. Be sure to share your comments on the Pace Radio Network, in the chat, or even on the social media, because we can respond most of the time.
Yeah, most of the times. Not every location, but most of them we can respond to. All right. First story of the day comes to us from Microsoft, and it says, "Moo over beer. Germany decriminalizes cannabis."
Woo woo! Some German people drink their beer after work. We just want to smoke our weed, so says Marcel Ritschel, who's celebrating as Germany, traditionally beerland, becomes a more cannabis-friendly country.
Germany, as of April 1st, which is today, partially decriminalized marijuana use. But police unions are warning of real-world harm. The law change may have come on April Fool's Day, but for them, it's no joke.
We meet Marcel Ritschel in the I can't pronounce German words, I'm sorry, area in Dresden, the heart of the city's alternative scene. Here, as in other places, it wasn't hard to find people openly smoking joints, even before the rules were relaxed. Now, that's one of the arguments behind decriminalization. Millions of people were smoking the stuff anyway, and it'll help kill the black market and improve quality control, says supporters.
So what are the new rules? As of April the 1st, over 18 can possess up to 25 grams of cannabis in public. I have read other reports that say that you're allowed to store 50 grams in your house.
Yeah. That's going to be messed up. They're going to have to modify that because the next one says that they can grow 3 plants, right?
3 plants. Yeah, 3 plants. So that's more than 50 grams.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't you get, like, when you're growing, like, say in a controlled environment, on the average plant, you can get 9 to 11 ounces per square meter of grow. So in a 5x5, you could have easily these 3 plants, and that's 2.5 square meters. So you're looking at 22 to 25 ounces just from a 5x5 grow tent.
And they're only allowed 50 grams. So there's something that has to be corrected there, obviously.
Yeah,
they say that
it's got to be worked out for sure.
Yeah. It says that people won't be allowed to smoke joints within sight of schools, sports centers, or in pedestrian zones between 7 and 8 p.m. So that means that you can smoke a joint at 8:10 in front of the sports center.
Well, if nobody's going in or out. And I think the pedestrian zones are like where you're crossing the streets or walking down the sidewalk.
It may even include sidewalks. I can see that. They say as of July the 1st, growers association social clubs can be established for up to 500 members. Yeah, I like that. I know that was something that, the folks from BMA and the CTCP were working on that to get social clubs.
Right.
Yeah. You got to be 18, live in Germany. The clubs can grow and distribute cannabis on a strictly not-for-profit basis, and consuming cannabis on site will not be allowed.
Well, then what the hell is the point of the social club? I wouldn't become a member.
Yeah, read the next 2 lines.
Well, Mr. Ritchell is planning on setting up a growers association or cannabis social club that will be allowed under the law from July. A gardening club, but for hemp. I'm getting more confused.
Every gram that goes from the cannabis social club is 1 gram that's not on the black market, he says. So it's a win-win situation.
I don't know who the frig is winning there. These places don't eat like the famed Amsterdam style cannabis coffee shops, obviously, which have themselves been hotly debated in the Netherlands. Now, the not-for-profit clubs in Germany are supposed to be only for people who actually live here, in order to stop a wave of tourists from pouring in to enjoy the liberal cannabis laws. Honey, they're not that liberal.
I don't understand this. Why shut off tourists? Like, because Amsterdam's, doing the same thing.
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't make sense from an economic perspective. It really does not. But I'm sure they have their reasons for it.
Yeah. They say there are many caveats and complexities within the legislation, a product of the political controversy that's forced the plans as originally envisioned to be watered down. The halfway house has left people disgruntled on both sides of the debate. I could see that.
Yeah. There are warnings that April 1st will mark the start of a chaos phase for Germany. We assume that the black market will be strengthened, said Alexander Poitz from Something GDP, the German police union.
Yeah.
He believes that the demand will quickly outstrip legal supply, given growing weed at home requires perseverance and care, while it'll be months before the cannabis clubs can start to function.
Yeah, there we are. Okay. Longer term criminal networks will adapt and even infiltrate the social clubs, while enforcing the law will be mammoth task, says Mr. Poltz. Smoking cannabis within 100 meters of a children's playground, schools, or sports centers, for example, is not allowed.
Right. So, and also in busy, crowded cities, it may take some dedication to find a spot to light up a spliff that's actually technically legal. There's also problems of how police will be able to tell the difference between a consumer and a dealer. If a person is able to carry up to 25 grams of cannabis, which is enough for a dozen joints.
2 gram joints.
Wow, 2 gram joints. I'm thinking, I go to Germany. Because, the average joint, like the average spliff is a half a gram. That's just kind of standard. When we roll one in, say, a zigzag paper, or a Gizeh paper, it's on average a half a gram. So if he's saying a dozen joints, that's 2 gram joints plus.
Those are pretty big joints.
I'm thinking you're going to have a whole lot of friends to enjoy that one. Concerns that cannabis can be addictive and adversely affect mental health have also been voiced by groups such as the Standing Committee of the European Doctors. And, we are looking at a lot of studies, and I suspect they will be as well.
Yes. Yeah, I imagine they will be. Just so you know, my screen bounced around on me there, and I'm on the hunt. There we go. Okay. The new measures will increase use and health-related harms, especially among youth, says CPME Vice President Professor Ray Wally. He says, given under 18s can't take advantage of the new laws, it's thought that many young people will start will resort to drug dealers. Well, I can tell you that here in Canada, we didn't see an increase in the minors' use.
No, we did not at all. And I think Germany will still be the same as well. Germany is one on a long list of nations that have wrestled with the pros and cons of decriminalizing cannabis. The government in Berlin cited a 2021 survey which found that 10.7% of men and 6.8% of women had used cannabis at least once in the past 12 months, most commonly in the 18 to 24 age group. Interesting.
Mm-hmm. No approach exists that's been truly successful in killing the black market or preventing youth issues, according to Dr. Robin Hoffman. He's an assistant professor for criminal law and criminology.
Well, legalization, I think, will change a lot of that, much as it has in, North America here, right?
Yeah. Just for anybody who's watching, you're watching my screen jump around. Now you understand what I'm going through.
Oh, I see. I just see the news article. I didn't see your screen jumping.
Yeah. Oh, it's just it's
the article.
It's
Yeah, it goes on to say that curbing the black market is a goal that hasn't been fully achieved, even in countries where cannabis has been properly legalized, such as in Canada or Uruguay.
Yeah, just so you know, it jumped so much, it jumped into a story on nuclear bombs.
Oh, okay. Well, we're not discussing
I can't even share it now.
There. Well, I'll finish up then, shall I? It's a long process, says Dr. Hoffman, a marathon, not a sprint. And he's absolutely right. Germany's journey towards part decriminalization has similarly been a long road in a debate typically pitting left-wingers against conservatives. This proposal emerged in 2021 when the three ruling parties carved out their coalition agreement following years of stasis under conservative Chancellor Angela Merkel. The party that Merkel headed, the Christian Democratic Union Party, has already pledged to reverse the changes if it wins power at the next.
Oh, see? Yeah, look, that sounds like Taiwan.
Like Thailand. Yes.
Thailand.
Exactly. Marcel Ritschel accepts that the change he's long campaigned for might not last the decade. Maybe we have 2 years and then it's all over. And this is the challenge with changing governments, isn't it?
Yeah. And you mentioned about the left and right thing, how the conservatives always tend to go against the flow of legalization. We've got a story coming up just on that.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah. All righty. Let's move on to our next story, because this one also involves. You make sure I get the right. Also involves Germany, because what they found in Germany is that the German opioid patients report using cannabis in place of other drugs.
How cool is that, right? So historically, the cannabis plant was portrayed as the gateway drug by cannabis opponents and many mainstream media outlets, so much like it was here in North America. It was a reefer madness talking point that was perpetuated in films and other works going back as far as the 1930s. However, a growing body of scientific evidence is proving that the gateway drug talking point is actually just false, unfounded, prohibitionist rhetoric. Many public health advocates and researchers have found that the use of many other substances, including the misuse of household items and pharmaceutical drugs, often predates cannabis use in society.
Yep. Researchers in Germany recently conducted a study examining cannabis use in replacement of the other substances, and the results of the study are promising, especially when considering how much more harmful when many substances are compared to cannabis. They say that nearly 60% of the people undergoing opioid maintenance treatment use cannabis to reduce their cravings of other drugs, including heroin, according to a survey data published in the journal European Archives of Psychiatry and Clinical Neuroscience.
I'm pretty sure I actually just finished reading this survey. It was very interesting. German investigators assessed cannabis use trends in 118 subjects. It was the one that were enrolled in OMT. 57% of respondents acknowledged consuming herbal cannabis, despite its being a violation of the program's rules. Now, nearly half of cannabis consumers said that they used it to reduce cravings for heroin, and 24% acknowledged doing so to reduce cravings for cocaine. Respondents also reported using cannabis as a substitute for alcohol, benzodiazepines, and other controlled substances.
Yeah, the study's authors concluded a substantial proportion of patients using cannabis in our sample reported beneficial effects of cannabis use on cravings for and use of other drugs, in many cases, arguably more harmful substances. They say in brackets here, these results question whether restricting cannabis use in general really promotes health in OMT patients. Overall, our results suggest that cannabis should be considered as a strategy for harm reduction in OMT with the goal to reduce the use of more dangerous drugs.
Right. The results of a 2021 study concluded that those in treatment for opioid use disorder who use cannabis were less likely to suffer from a non-fatal opioid overdose than were the non-cannabis consumers. Other studies have reported that cannabis use is associated with greater opioid treatment retention rates and that it may mitigate opioid-related cravings among dependent subjects.
There we go. There's just
So-
yet another report showing the benefits of using cannabis over the opiates.
Well, and yeah, I mean, these reports are becoming as commonplace. Like, we're starting to see these reports become as commonplace as the weather reports.
Yeah.
You know, we're showing, and patient stories are just on the rise. Like, wow, I never would have thought. And look at how wonderful this is working for me. And I mean, the safety of cannabis consumption, it's time for change, and we're making those changes, and it's nice to see it happening globally.
Yeah, exactly. And talking about changes, here's one that's been coming in the news. This comes to us from CBC News, and it says Ontario's top doctor calls for decriminalization, limits on legal substances.
Yes. So this is Ontario's top doctor. He's calling on the province to decriminalize possession of unregulated drugs for personal use and make available safer supply, as well as explore the raising legal drinking age from 19 to 21. Dr. Kieran Moore, the province's chief medical officer of health, is also calling on the province to immediately enact a policy that will limit access to alcohol, vapes, and cannabis, as the number of people who have died or visited a hospital due to using multiple substances has spiked in recent years. I feel like that claim is opinion-based.
Yeah, I'm rereading that last sentence and trying to understand. Enact policy that will limit access to alcohol, vapes, and cannabis as a number of people who have died. Well, no one's dying from cannabis consumption.
No.
Like, as far as just from like, you can overconsume an alcohol and die, alcohol poisoning. But I don't know of anybody dying from cannabis poisoning.
Right. It is an over-skewed opinion that, again, this can add to the propaganda, because he's taken, I mean, alcohol and cannabis really just doesn't go together, and you really shouldn't. I mean, alcohol is so bad for you. But anyway, so he's saying alcohol, vapes, and cannabis. All these
Well, we know.
They could have gone in for a fucking heart attack and had THC in their system. Excuse the French.
Yeah. And unfortunate when he lists cannabis as for a number of people who have died. If it was just talking about straight cannabis use, dying from cannabis, it sort of takes away from some of probably the good things that he's talking about here with the safe supply and other things. So, yeah. Moore said more than 2,500 people have died in Ontario each year in the past few years due to toxic drug supply. and the number of opioid-related deaths amongst teens and young adults in Ontario tripled between 2014 and 2021. Research has found a safer drug supply is the solution to immediately prevent thousands more from dying in the coming years, he says.
The system must first take urgent steps to keep people alive, such as creating safe spaces where people can use unregulated drugs and providing regulated pharmaceutical alternatives. So in other words, welcome to your community, another meth clinic coming.
Well, it could be, I look at it as like insight, where people can actually get into a place.
I don't see that.
Take their drugs and get access to health alternatives as far as healthcare.
I watched beautiful family parks up north, where families used to play on a regular basis turn into unsafe havens for needle users. I mean, you can't walk through the park without finding needles.
And we're, exactly. So that's the advantage of giving them a place to go, so they're not having to do it in parks. We're not doing it in the back alley.
That's where they put the safe needle consumption space, was in the
park?
family park. Yes.
In the park. Oh, well, obviously they need some little more work at it to keep that park clear. So
maybe a new council.
Okay, keep going.
With these harm reduction responses in place, people who are using opiates may be in a position to benefit from others of education and treatment and to make choices that enable them to reduce or even stop their opiate use, he wrote in the report. When we see preventable threats like substance use that harm too many people too young, devastate families, destroy communities, and reduce life expectancy, we must act.
Morris research suggests multi-pronged recommendations can help officials prevent fatal overdoses and stop people, especially youth, from dangerously and increasingly using multiple legal substances. Hannah Jensen, the spokeswoman for Ontario's Ministry of Health, said in an email on Thursday the government appreciates Moore's recommendations to restrict legal substances while decriminalizing hard drugs.
But Jensen did say that they ignore the unintended consequences of significant public safety concerns experienced by other jurisdictions that have implemented similar proposals, though she did not provide examples. As for decriminalization, Moore said it allows the justice and enforcement systems to focus their resources on stopping the organizations and individuals profiting from unregulated drug sales, rather than on people who use substances whose needs would be better met in the health system.
He noted Ontarians, especially youth, have also been a part of a disturbing trend in recent years of binge drinking and vaping. The report cited recently released data from the Canadian Institute of Health Information found 33% of adults said they used cannabis in 2020, an 8% increase from 2019. And when it released its cannabis survey in 2022, Health Canada reported the number of Ontarians who have died of alcohol toxicity rose 16% from 2018 to 2021.
So again, that brings us right back to it's alcohol that's killing people.
Because there's no cannabis deaths included.
And I hate that numbers. He lumped the cannabis in there with those statistics. We've also seen concerning changes in substance use patterns and harms more broadly, including higher rates of vaping among non-smokers, increased unintentional poisonings in children from cannabis ingestion, and an ongoing high burden of hospitalizations and cancers caused by alcohol. Moore said in the report. He said that's why efforts need to be made to shift social norms by making Ontarians more aware of new evidence on alcohol-related harms.
He suggested in the report, for example, that more restrictions on how legal substances are marketed can be implemented to educate people on the harms of substance use. The province does prohibit advertising of alcohol to minors on traditional media outlets like television, radio, and print, but neither the federal or provincial governments limits advertising on social media platforms, which is where youth get most of their information. I don't know. I see alcohol commercials on TV.
I see alcohol commercials all the time. You open up a newspaper and there, the LCBO has the middle of the newspaper, a full page of their wine in the grocery store. I don't like that the story this writer has combined, or that this doctor has combined cannabis with the alcohol because they are two entirely separate issues. But he carries on. He also recommends Ontario explore the value of increasing the legal minimum drinking age from 19 to 21. I think is a good idea. And work with the federal government to require that all alcohol products have warning labels and signage that describes the risk and harms of drinking booze. Again, why this is related to cannabis is beyond me. He said it's common knowledge that Ontarians will continue to use the legal substances.
And I think that's why it's lumped in there, because it's a legal substance.
Yeah.
The challenge is to help people understand the risk and moderate or stop their use. He said limiting the number of deaths and hospital visits due to legal substances, so you use that word again, can save the province billions of dollars. Okay.
Oh my goodness. In 2020,
right.
the harms. Sorry.
I was gonna say, okay, you go on, and I'm gonna deal with the cat that's at the door.
All right.
The rubber seal being torn off.
I'll just wrap this up then. In 2020, the harms associated with substance use cost Ontario about $18 billion, and that's approximately $1,234 per person in healthcare, social, and legal policing costs, says the report. Moore argued that his recommendations need to be implemented with understanding that societal burdens, such as the affordability crisis, are driving more Canadians to use substances. Absolutely true. That's why he said Ontario needs to implement his recommendations while working with all levels of government in developing affordable housing policies, programs for families that reduce the risk of adverse childhood experiences and domestic violence, and initiatives to improve social circumstances. This report calls for an all-of-society approach to improve health and reduce substance use harms, one that recognizes the complexity of human experience with substances, the factors that drive substance use, and the policy environment where public health policies may conflict with economic policies and with the public attitudes and perspectives, he wrote.
There you go.
So he sounds like he wants to make changes, but there's a lot of things he wants to change, and they're all kind of just lumped in there in one big, this needs to be dealt with.
Yeah, and some of them I obviously don't see the present government making any changes.
I don't see a lot of change on the horizon, unfortunately. And on that note, all that talk is sparking up. I'm going to spark up.
Excuse me. All right, on to our last story before we go. Before we go to break, here we go. This one comes to us from MJ Biz Daily. Republican senators oppose cannabis rescheduling based on global treaties.
So this was
we heard the same thing from our conservative end of the government when cannabis was being legalized with the Liberals. So
That's right. So I thought we were going to break, so that's why I sparked. But however, I'll enjoy. Moving cannabis to Schedule 3 of the Controlled Substances Act, as Biden administration health officials have recommended, violates the U.S. promises to other countries. And that's what 3 Republican U.S. senators, led by former presidential nominee Mitt Romney of Utah, told the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration Chief Ann Milgram on Wednesday.
President Joe Biden's October 2022 directive to re-examine marijuana's status under federal law led to an August 2023 recommendation by the Department of Health and Human Services to downgrade it from the Schedule 1 to Schedule 3. By doing so, according to the letter from Senator Romney, Pete Richards of Nebraska and Jim Risch of Idaho would contradict earlier DEA determinations that requires it to classify marijuana as a Schedule 1 or 2 scheduled drug in order to comply with our treaty obligations, including a United Nations treaty signed in 1961.
Okay. That stand contradicts the U.S. Representative Sidney Kamlager Dove, a California Democrat, who in February told the DEA that the U.S. treaties should have no impact on rescheduling. And other signatories to the UN treaty, the senator cited, such as Canada, have legalized cannabis nationwide.
Exactly.
Now, yeah.
The DEA is currently weighing its response to the HHS recommendation. Milgram has said, but there's no clear timeline as to when the DEA will rule. In the meantime, observers noted that the Biden administration has strongly embraced cannabis reform, possibly as a tactic to recover his standing among young voters ahead of his 2024 re-election bid.
I just watched some live footage on this where it's just a tactic. It's just a tactic. That possibility wasn't lost on Republican senators who wrote that any effort to reschedule marijuana must be based on proven facts and scientific evidence, which is available for the record, not the favored policy of a particular administration and account for our treaty obligations.
And maybe it's just because one party is recognizing the evidence and the other party isn't.
Well, yeah, I mean, they have to have certain things that they take stands on. Now, I mean, and it kills me that the U.S. is still continuing to use such a racially slurring terminology, calling it marijuana. I mean, this is terrible. Start calling it cannabis, refer to it as cannabis, or let the term marijuana die with the DEA. Just like, you know what, it's still illegal. It's still written in the law that if somebody that horse thieves or cattle thieves can be shot by the owner, because it's just a stupid law now. So rather than spend all kinds of taxpayers' dollars on it, they just it doesn't even apply. Most of the wording doesn't even apply. They need to do the same with marijuana and start regulating cannabis.
I've spoken with the past host of the Pace Radio show, and they completely disagree with you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I know. I was surprised too. But yeah, I'll talk to you about that after the show, but yeah.
Sure. It's okay to agree. And you know what? I'm one of those persons. I can agree to disagree. It's cool. You know, we all have different filtration systems.
All right, medication time. Irene and I'll be right back after a joint session. You're watching Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
Are you a cannabis content creator? Are you looking for a place to have your content seen? If you answer yes to both questions, then you need to check out cbgtv.com. CBGTV, broadcasting to a worldwide audience. Find us at cbgtv.com.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Are you looking to get your medical cannabis grow license? Limestone City Hydroponics can help patients through the process of obtaining their license to grow medical cannabis. What's that? You don't have a doctor? If you meet the medical criteria, Limestone City Hydroponics has a nurse practitioner who can assess and provide medical cannabis prescriptions. What are you waiting for? Contact Limestone City Hydroponics at limestonecityhydroponics.ca or call them at 613-548-0420.
Pace Radio, is the People Advocating Cannabis Education Radio Network.
Legacy 420 have an awesome array of cannabis-infused beverages, from pop to Nature's Nectar's teas, all in amazing flavors. What a selection. We even have a delicious mango-infused juice, and let me tell you, it's delicious.
Everything is infused in-house, so we buy our syrup from, the same place where everybody else buys their syrup for their pop, and the infusion is done in the lab. It's all canned here, labeled here, produced 100% on Tyndonega.
We have 2 lines of drinks. One is called our Nature's Nectar. That was our original line that we came out with. And then we also have a line under the Red E brand. We have them in 10 milligrams, 30 milligram, and 60 milligram cans.
What a great selection for a get-together with friends or after a long day. Remember, if you want to wet your whistle with on-site lab-tested products, come see your trusted partner. Legacy 420 out on your road.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Hey, we're back for more commercial break, and go ahead.
I have to share from Legacy 420. So last year I had seen their commercial play a few times, and I saw that bucket of ice with all the cans of infused, beverages, right?
Right.
We go to the beach all throughout the summer, all the time, and the girls and I, and we've got our cooler, and none of us really drink. Like, we might have a little sip of alcohol or maybe some Baileys and coffee, but that's not what you bring to the beach. And it's like, I'm starting to feel old because I'm not that 20-year-old that brings a cooler of booze, right? But I don't want booze. When I saw that commercial, it was like, oh, that's freaking brilliant. I hit Legacy. At some point in time, I went down to Tyndonega, got myself a whole bunch of different beverages. Waited when summer came, filled up the cooler. I was the most popular person for about an hour on that beach, and then everybody was nice and chill.
There you go.
But no, those beverages are great for a day on the dock of fishing, for just hanging out at the beach, or hanging out in the backyard for a barbecue. It's so much better for you than alcohol. So much better.
Different levels of THC, up to 60 milligrams, I believe.
Right? It'll help get your liver functioning properly instead of destroying it.
Yeah. Well, because we know what alcohol does to your liver. All righty. On to our first story of the second half of the show. This comes to us from the International Cannabis Business Conference, and it says an analyst demonstrates why regulating cannabis is the right approach.
Yeah. So, there's so many conversations about this right now, but I'll try and stick to the story. In a regulated cannabis market, products undergo stringent testing to ensure that they are suitable for human consumption. Cannabis products are properly labeled in a regulated market, and they are subjected to inventory tracking requirements. Cannabis, like nearly every commercially available consumable product on Earth, will be deemed to be unsuitable for human consumption from time to time. Regulations help ensure that such products do not make it to the retail shelves. And in the limited instances when it does happen, recall protocols are in place. Now, none of that is true for the unregulated market.
A recent analysis was performed in Canada that examined heavy metal contamination rates in cannabis vape pens. I was looking for this earlier. The analysis involved cartridges that originated from the regulated market, as well as samples that came from the unregulated market. They say the use of certain cannabis vape cartridges may result in metal heavy exposures, and they said the findings were presented at the spring meeting of the American Chemical Society.
Yeah, if I can just jump in a little bit there, Al. So some of these visits to the ER room from people who have been using vapes and been vaping, and then all of a sudden something happens. The heavy metal, so Cannabis is a photoremediator in that it will draw up it cleans the earth, right? It cleans the soil. It draws all of that into the plant. And if the plant isn't flushed properly, there's a really large chance that heavy metals, because we are what we consume, will get into our system, and or azadirachtin. Azadirachtin is a pesticide that's used by those who still use chemicals growing their weed. Stupid choice. But anyway, an azadirachtin poisoning presents very much like hypercannabinoid emesis or cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome. It's not an allergy to cannabis. It's that you got improperly, what's the flush? Is that the word I'm looking for? Yeah. So because there, your soil wasn't right, or you didn't flush properly after spraying for pests or what have you. So these are a lot, and this ends up in these vape chambers that are unregulated, which is where the concern came from. And that's also where a lot of those ER visits come from. So, okay. I just had to throw that in there. The Canadian scientists were analyzing 41 products for heavy metals, which included lead, cadmium, arsenic, and mercury. Several of the liquids in the vape cartridges tested positive for metal contamination. In some instances, it was nano-sized particles were present prior to the product's heating mechanism being turned on, suggesting that metal contaminants may be produced during the production process rather than during the product's use.
Products obtained from the unregulated producers were more likely than legally regulated products to contain elevated levels of heavy metals. The findings are consistent with U.S. data reporting that the use of some commercially available cannabis e-liquid devices may result in exposures to unwanted metals, including copper, nickel, and lead. Third-party testing of unregulated Delta 8 products and CBD vape cartridges also identified the presence of heavy metals, including arsenic, chromium, and mercury. Right. Yeah, I know that. I understand where you're coming from with the plant sucking up the stuff out of the ground, but are they finding that stuff in the whole leaf cannabis plant?
Yes and no, because it's all in the growing. A lot of it. It's different stages, different issues, right? And when you're doing it on a massive scale versus your community scale, where Joe and Sue and Sally, they all grow and I grow, and so don't have Tommy's weed. This, what, he didn't flush it properly. That's why it's burning black. You know what I mean? When it's in a small community, it's different numbers that you're dealing with. But on a grand scale, having these regulated to ensure that doesn't happen, I think is important. I mean, I would hate for my great aunt, who doesn't know much about cannabis at all, really, to go in and buy a CBD cartridge that didn't go through that regulation. And now she's getting heavy metal toxins from a legal product.
And it's happening in both systems. Like, I got a vape pen here. And that's why I went looking for because there was another article on that, but I wasn't able to find it. So
right, and it's a learning opportunity.
Oh yeah,
and because with the green rush, everybody hopped on board. And let's face it, even during the gold rush, there were some panners that showed up and they didn't even have a pan. They just thought they were going to get there and there would be this big mountain of gold that they could collect. Right, so it really is educating yourself. And as a producer, yeah. So as a producer, everybody jumped on the green rush and said, oh, I want to do this. And they got this much information. And we're learning that, it needs more. You have to do this and this and this and this. It's just part of the growing process.
Yeah. All right. Talking about growing process. It happens in more than just growing in plants. It also happens in laws and everything else. Next story comes to us from the Strachan. New Brunswick says it can't enforce its cannabis laws on First Nation reserves.
Good. It's still First Nations, Six Nations. They are still sovereign country, and they need to stand up for their rights. And whatever changes they're going to make, it has to be in the way they decide it. So New Brunswick, thankfully, is saying it is unable to enforce its provincial cannabis laws on First Nations land, while other provinces take a different stance. Oh, I did not know that. The new comments come following proposed changes to the province's Cannabis Act and stand in contrast to statements and actions taken by other provincial governments.
Yeah, BC says their law covers everybody. So you'll find. The province's public safety minister, Chris Austin, reportedly told media recently that there is nothing the province can do to enforce the provincial cannabis rules on businesses operating on First Nation reserves. She instead argues the issue is up to the federal government to enforce.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things, you can't seize property, right? So the comments from Austin came from the introduction of new legislation in New Brunswick meant to give officers from the Department of Justice and Public Safety more power to deter illicit stores in the province. Now, the provincial government recently introduced Bill 29, which will, if passed, create amendments to its Cannabis Control Act, with the goal of increasing compliance with provincial rules, reducing the sale of illegal cannabis, and preventing young people from consuming it.
Yeah. As reported by the Telegraph Journal, Austin said, you can't seize property on First Nation reserves unless you're talking about property that would be involved in violent crime. Our understanding is when it comes to cannabis, that we're not able to do that.
It's pretty simple, yep. The Telegraph Journal went on to report that Austin made similar statements about jurisdiction in 2023, passing the buck back to the federal government. First Nation cannabis stores in New Brunswick are an issue, no question. Very frustrating. Later adding that we can only work within provincial legislation and it's up to our federal counterparts to do their part.
Indigenous and Northern Affairs Canada redirected media inquiries back to the provincial RCMP, which issued a statement saying the issue is complex. You think?
Just a little bit.
This fiscal year, peace officers in New Brunswick say they have investigated and shut down 23 illegal cannabis dispensaries across the province. Some of those have involved individuals with First Nation communities, like a raid last August of the Lenuck Lounge in Moncton. That business is operating again as of press time, and its social media shows it's been operating for some time.
Yep. At the time, New Brunswick authorities said a 33-year-old Eel River Bar First Nation man could face charges, and the investigation is ongoing. A video shared on Facebook in May of 2023 shows several store employees and First Nation representatives delivering a letter to the RCMP stating that the store is operating under territorial rights, which they argue does not need a license from the province, and they are correct. The store is located just a few doors down from an RCMP station.
Former National Assembly of First Nations Chief Del Riley also appears in the video, and he's been working with many First Nation communities in Canada to make similar arguments for sovereignty for cannabis retailers on First Nation lands. Law enforcement in New Brunswick has raided several unlicensed cannabis stores in recent months, with two arrested in 2 raids in March and 2 more arrested, and products seized from an unlicensed dispensary in St. John in January.
Yeah. It's just crazy. A court recently issued $20,000 fine following a raid in 2022, while charges against 2 men connected to the company have been withdrawn. There are 25 Cannabis New Brunswick stores in the province, plus a handful of licensed privately run cannabis stores. Now, this didn't stop the RCMP from reportedly raiding a dispensary called the Medicine Cabinet on Eel River Bar Reserve in New Brunswick on March 26th of 2021. According to the Dispensing Freedom, the RCMP left with more than $60,000 worth of cannabis products, 4 rifles and shotguns used by the family to hunt, Interact machines, cash, and a cash box. Police held the brothers, their family, and a worker at the shop for over 10 hours before being released. Charges on the father and son were later dropped. Okay, there's not a lot that gets my blood boiling. This is one of those things. Just saying.
This raid, however, was reportedly authorized by Sasha LeBeau Kennedy, a chief of the Eel River Bar First Nation. So they raided that place with permission from the chief.
Which is interesting. I mean, not everybody likes their leader, right?
That's right. Oh, it's not, yeah, believe me, it's not the first time. Several First Nation communities and business owners across Canada have argued that federal and provincial cannabis laws do not apply to any First Nation reserved lands or unceded territories. Dozens of stores in Ontario and BC have opened in the last few years. The issue of jurisdiction around cannabis laws is contentious in Canada as it relates to First Nations and Indigenous authorities. Canada's Cannabis Act and regulations provide the authority to regulate the sale of cannabis to provinces and territories. Many provinces, including BC and the federal government, have said that their own respective cannabis regulations are laws of general application, meaning they apply to all areas in those jurisdictions, including Indigenous land.
And again, herein lies the fight. At what point Indigenous land is sovereign land? Period. Police in Nova Scotia recently raided a cannabis store operating under what the owner said were sovereign Indigenous rights in January. Ontario Provincial Police recently raided 3 sovereign stores operated by members of First Nations community and British Columbia's Community Safety Unit. Conducted several raids of cannabis stores operating in the Comox First Nation in February. In both those series of raids, most businesses quickly reopened.
BC has long taken the position that its own Provincial Cannabis Act is a law of general application that applies to all of British Columbia, including First Nations land. However, the province's Minister of Public Safety and Solicitor General Mike Harmsworth has said in the past that the province is leery of acting on that authority and triggering court challenge that could significantly impact provincial and Indigenous laws.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With cannabis, like a number of other issues when it comes to First Nations, our view, the province's view, is that yes, they are laws of general application. Administered during the question period in 2020. Just as with other issues, First Nations have said, no, these are areas of our jurisdiction, and that's both at the provincial level and at the federal level. In other words, back the fuck up, Mary.
As the member will no doubt be aware, on numerous occasions, these are often tested in court and sometimes with a decision that yes, they do come under First Nations jurisdiction, and that has far-reaching effects. When you have an issue where there is a dispute over its jurisdiction, as a number of First Nations have indicated, it is their view that cannabis comes under their jurisdiction. This is a complex and complicated situation. It is something that has not just arisen. It has been around for a while, and we are working with First Nations to be able to deal with that. It's why one of the ways in which we are encouraging local production of legal retail, as though the use of Section 119 agreements under the Act, which were designed to do just that. And that comes from Farnsworth. Go ahead. Yeah. What was that, Irene?
Oh, I was just saying, no,
I heard
they're not trying to find ways of working with them. They're trying to find ways to sneakily merge their way in and become that Trojan horse. I mean, the first thing that always comes to my mind when I see the federal government saying, oh, we want to work with you to help make this better for you. You're full of shit. Okay. I see a Trojan horse like there's no tomorrow right away. They're manipulative. And the wording is manipulative. And I am so grateful that there are so many wonderful First Nation leaders that are recognizing this and stand up and say, no, that is, you know.
I'm going to say the first one would be our sponsor, Legacy 420. That was Tim Barnhart. He spoke up back in 2015.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? And
exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
and they were gonna raid him, and he said blah 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 blah, and they never came back.
Yeah, back the fuck up, Mary.
No, yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah,
all right. Who wants to win some free weed?
I do. It's about the only time you'll ever hear me say I do.
Okay, from Cannabis Net, it says, win free weed for a year.
Okay,
Find the Willy Wonka golden cannabis ticket to create a great cannabis-themed video.
Okay, and this is from West Coast Cure. It was only a matter of time before something like this was going to happen. West Coast Cure has come up with a really cool contest inspired by the famous Willy Wonka event, but with a twist. Instead of chocolate, they're offering weed. Up to 5 lucky winners could get a year's supply of top quality cannabis for just $4.20. I'm assuming Canadian. Now that is a year's supply for $4.20. I'm in. That's a steal for any weed lover out there. Jonathan Jones, who's in charge of marketing at WCC, is super excited about this. He says they're thrilled to be connecting with California's weed community in such a fun way. Jones thinks this contest isn't just about winning. It's a chance for people to show off their love for weed in all sorts of creative ways. So whether you're a big-time fan or just enjoy weed casually, this contest is for you.
Jones also wants everyone to know that WCC is all about celebrating the weed culture. They're not just in it for the money, but genuinely care about the people who love their products. So if you're in California and love cannabis, this contest just might be your golden ticket to a year of blissful highs. Now, West Coast is launching 2 exciting contests exclusively for California residents. Those contests will run March the 29th to April the 20th, so it's running right now, for the UGC campaign, and on June 1st for the Diamond Tickets campaign. The aim is to blend creativity and skill in celebrating California's vibrant cannabis culture.
All right. So this just told me that this is American. This is in California, not Canadian. So that $4.20 is in American dollars. Let me correct myself on that. But also, they must have. I was wondering how they do this legally because of our marketing and advertising regulations here in Canada. They must have different regulations stateside.
Yes, they do. Yeah.
Okay. So these contests are designed to showcase and promote WCC's Jeffrey Minis infused joints containing premium flower, THCA diamonds, and top shelf keef. Participants have 2 ways to enter and become eligible to win. First, they can hunt for one of the 4 secret diamond tickets hidden within the Jeffrey 5-pack minis, which for the record, I've had them. They're fabulous, are available at select retailers. Alternatively, they can unleash their creativity by participating in the WCC Diamonds UGC. Keep that as your hashtag, user-generated content contest.
This dual approach not only engages participants in a fun and interactive manner, but also highlights the uniqueness of WCC's products. By combining elements of exploitation and creativity, WCC aims to connect with California's diverse cannabis community and celebrate the state's essence of cannabis culture. So whether you're on the hunt for hidden tickets or eager to showcase your creativity, these contests offer something for everyone to enjoy.
Absolutely. If you are one of the lucky winners to uncover a diamond ticket, you'll have the chance to participate in a trivia contest to confirm your win. Hopefully it's not too difficult because I'm guessing it's going to be a lot of stoners. For those entering the UGC contest, get ready to showcase your creative flair by crafting the most captivating photo or video featuring a gutted Jeffrey. The winner, handpicked by WCC co-founder Jay Cures, will be selected based on the originality of their submission. These contests shine a spotlight on the Jeffrey Minis, underscoring West Coast Cure's unwavering commitment to top-notch quality. These infused joints, boasting premium flower, THCA diamonds, and top-shelf keef, exemplify WCC's dedication to pushing boundaries regarding excellence and innovation within the cannabis industry. And, as someone who really genuinely enjoys their products, I can attest to that. I was just actually looking for my case of Jeffrey's because I've got an empty case. My Jeffreys. I like my Jeffreys. They're my personal stuff. We enjoyed some Jeffreys at Can Expo.
Oh,
Yeah, I shared a couple of Jeffreys with you.
Oh, okay. All right. All right.
The little mini ones.
Yeah. I'm going to close out the story with the last two paragraphs and saying that, in essence, West Coast Cures inventive contest promising a year's supply of premium cannabis stands as a testament to their commitment to the cannabis community. This offering attracts fans' attention and emphasizes the WCC's desire to supplement premium products. This program not only demonstrates their generosity, but also shows the strength of belonging, which deepens the bond between them and their customers and reminds them of a brand that carries a well-being. So there you go. Brings yourself some free cannabis.
Well, and you know what? And WCC has good products. I mean, I know a number of people that order because they do deliveries. And I know, I'm very familiar with their products. So if you win one of these golden tickets, I'm not suggesting you turn into any of the, characters from Willy Wonka, but find yourself some time. If you win, let us know. Let me and Al know. Like, get over here to the Pace Radio, Pace, and tell us, hey, you know what?
I won.
I really want your ticket. Yeah. So I got my WCC ticket. Yeah, it's gonna be cool. I think it's wonderful. I'm kind of wishing I were American at the moment, but you know what? Maybe I'll help my sisters or my daughter, or actually I have to help my sisters, or you know what? My friend, my stepmother, my friend, my family member. They're all stateside, and I've got all kinds of families stateside. I'll help them win.
Yeah, good. Now, I see we got a bunch more stories, but we're out of time. But I just wanted to bring up the story here, and some people wonder why we still need things such as the Global Marijuana March that's being held in Toronto, May 4th. So just to show people why trafficking cannabis in Malaysia can get you 30 years in jail and a bruised backside. The bruised backside is a whipping.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why, even though we've got cannabis legalized here in Canada and a lot of the states have it as well, it doesn't mean that it's legal globally. And even though we can report weekly on new places, there are still people who are still being severely punished.
Yeah. And I mean, that's from a global scale. That's the Global Marijuana March. And that is the point. There are still a lot of changes to make in the laws, to reform the laws. Now that we have it legal, it's time to change it where we have it legal, like to get it so that it's a working environment. And globally, until this planet is green, north to south, east to west, around and around, there's statements to make. There's help to give.
Sure is. Yeah.
There's education to serve.
Yeah. All righty. When I hit the closing, I'll run a little promo on the Toronto Global Marijuana March. But other than that, that's our news report for today. And from the Legacy420.com news desk and for our budget, the Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, Legacy420.com, and Limestone City Hydroponics.ca, we'd like to say thanks for watching and tuning in. And don't forget to educate, medicate, and do not incarcerate. Make sure I get the right video. Okay, here we go.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own, and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
When you have a pain that's reached its peak, Legacy for 20, it's so unique. If organic cannabis is what you seek, here's your trusted partners 7 days a week. Suppository salves, vapes and drops, topicals, edibles, infused pop. Just when life seems like it ain't easy, at Legacy 420, enjoy a pop freezy. Lab tested products, make them the GOAT. Legacy 420 out on your road. Legacy 420 in Tyndonega Mohawk territory. Indigenous organic cannabis at its finest.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.